the sun god, had grown old and left Earth to dwell solely in the sky. He had ruled the earth and all of its inhabitants. He was able to see enough future to realize that any children by Nut, the goddess of the sky, would overthrow him as king. With his great power, Ra commanded that Nut should not be able to bear any child on any day of the year. This curse greatly distressed Nut. She knew that it could not be reversed. She consulted Felth, a god of wisdom, education, and writing. If anyone could save her curse, it was him. Felth reasoned a way to get around Ra's command. In an act of superior cunning, he challenged Kansu, the moon god, to a contest of checkers. For each game that Felth would win, Kansu had to give up a tiny portion of his light. Game after game, Felth continued to win, and Kansu ultimately lost a significant percent of his light. Finally, Kansu would play no longer. Felth gathered up all the light he had won from it and fashioned 5 additional days would belong to no year. Until then, a year had consisted 360 days, the number of degrees in a circle. These new days would become festival days between the one year and the next. Finally, Nut was able to have children. On the first festival day, she bore Osiris. Then on each successive day, she gave birth to another god, Horus the Elder, Seth, Isis, and Nephthys. Ra's curse had been fulfilled to the letter, but it had also been defeated on a technicality. When Osiris came of age, he married his sister Isis. Likewise, Seth married Nephthys. Osiris, through the wisdom of his wife, became king of all Egypt. With every good thing that Osiris and his wife did for the people, Seth became more and more envious. The more people loved the god king and his wife, the more Seth wanted to destroy them and to take the place of his brother on the throne. Osiris had gone on a long trip to other nations to spread the knowledge of civilization to other people. Isis ruled while he was away. When the king had returned, Seth was among the first to welcome his brother. But the younger jealous god had conspired with 72 of his wicked friends to defeat Osiris. Seth had obtained the exact dimensions of his older brother and had commissioned the construction of an elaborate box to be made of cider and envy plus gold and ivory. In celebration of his brother's return, Seth threw the richest possible feast and invited his most loyal friends. When Osiris had grown relaxed and happy with song, food, and wine, Seth brought out the elegant chest he had commissioned and announced to the crowd that he would give this fine box to whoever would fit in perfectly. Several of the guests tried to fit inside the finely made chest, but some were too short, too tall, too fat, or too thin. Finally, Osiris asked if he could try out the box. As the king hunkered down into the box, all of the guests gathered around in anticipation. Osiris cried out that, "The chest is mine!" Seth hissed with glee, "Yes, my brother, and it will be yours forever." With that, Seth slammed the lid down, and as many guests as possible could reach the box helped to nail the lid shut. They sealed every crack with molten lead and tossed the chest down the stream. Isis far and wide searched for her husband's body, and she found it soon. Seth discovered Osiris' body and cut it into 14 parts and scattered them up and down the valley of Nile. Again, Isis searched for the various parts of his husband's body and preserved it. For years, Isis protected and hid her son Horus the Younger from Seth and his evil friends. When Horus came of age, he was sent up to challenge his uncle for the throne of Egypt. The conflict between Horus and Seth took many forms. For instance, both agreed to take the appearance of hippopotamus and fight each other underwater. Isis, fearing of her son, fashioned several harpoons and took flight to throw them at Seth. When she threw the first one, Horus cried, "Mother, stop! You've hit your own son!" After a few minutes of searching, she found Seth and threw one harpoon after another. First few either missed or bounced off. Finally, a harpoon struck Seth squarely and wounded him. Seth cried out for mercy, and Isis took pity on him. She took him to the shore and nursed his wounds. Horus heard what his mother had done. He got so angry that he cut off her head and hid it in the deserted mountains in the west of Nile Valley. Realizing the mistake Horus had done, Ra came to the aid of Isis and helped her restore her head. In addition, he bestowed her a crown of cow-headed horns to give her added protection. He then punished Horus for what he had done to his mom. With the great and strong power bestowed by Ra, Isis took over the throne of Egypt.